What we're doing here to run some tests on the digital outputs of the labjack is we've connected an LED, which you can see right here, directly into some of these digital outputs. So I have one lead of the LED right here going into I/O0. That's input output 0. In this case it'll be a digital output. And the other lead of the LED, this lead right here, going directly into ground. And I was careful when inserting the LED to make sure that the flat edge of the case here is the one going into ground, because that's the way LEDs work. So this LED should light up when the output on I/O0 is plus 5 volts or a true condition, as said by LabVIEW.
What we're going to do in this particular segment of LabVIEW is we're going to see if we can control that LED that's connected to the I/O0 line of the LabVIEW. So recall that the I/O0 lines are either 0 plus or plus 5 volts on the output, so we'll see if we can use that to control an LED. So we'll get a typical program going is like this. First we'll start out with a structure here, a while loop in particular, and a while loop is something we'll use just to keep the program running as needed. We'll go down here to the terminal condition. I just right-clicked on it here, and we'll just go ahead and create a control in there, which gives me a stop button. So that's the stop button, the way it looks like in the block diagram. And there's the button that sort of resulted on the front panel as a result of that control creation there. Okay, so we sort of have a while loop, which is going to keep the program running. Now what we'd like to do is get in and address that digital output line on the labjack. So what we'll do then, we'll go to instrument I/O down here, and again, your version of LabVIEW might be a bit different. You'll have to hunt around for it. This one's in this thing called instrument drivers here. I see labjack over here. And I'll go ahead and grab the easy digital output one right here. So easy digital output, the E stands for easy, and digital out is of course what I'm after. I'd like those I/O lines there to be known as outputs, and that's what this particular VI will configure them as, and I can assign a true-false value to them and see if I get the 0 or plus 0 volts or 5 volts on the output there. So if I look at the context help over there, I can see a variety of things once again. I can see I can select the channel, defaults to 0 right here, but I'll go ahead and right-click on that and create a constant in there just to emphasize that it is channel 0 in there. There's a bunch of other things which you can investigate on your own here, but the one I'll be interested in mostly here is this one called state right here, because this is the one that's either going to be a true or false, and if it's true I should see plus 5 volts appear on I/O0. If it's false, I should see 0 volts appear on I/O0. Now this is a Boolean input, so I'm not going to assign a numerical value to that, so I need some Boolean type of input on that. And to get the Boolean on that, I'll go back to my front panel right here, and I see that I have a whole palette here of Boolean controls. You might guess this because it's either true or false, so a bunch of sort of two-state switches in here. You can see I have an OK button, that's a true or false, either it's pressed or it isn't. A cancel button, a stop button, same thing. There's a bunch of sliders in here too. One side would be true, the other side would be false, both for this slide switch this way and this way. I think I'll go ahead and go for a horizontal toggle or a vertical toggle button here, I guess. I'll just sort of put that in. And notice the LabVIEW's done a nice job there of making a nice looking switch. We have a nice shadow and things like that in there. So this, the point though is that this control here will always have a Boolean output. Now I have the switch on my front panel. If I go back to my block diagram, here is the switch right here. So that's sort of the switch that I can interact with on my block diagram. And you can see there's only one output to it right here, the true or false state of the switch. I'm going to wire that right into the state of the easy digital output of the labjack right there. So the state. So if this is true or false, the state of the labjack will be true or false. And that should be all I need to get my plus or minus 5 volts sort of to go out there onto the labjack. And what I'll do also, just to give myself a visual indicator here, is I'll go ahead and pull down another Boolean indicator here, like this round LED. I'll put it right here, I guess, and I'll also just wire the output of that switch into that LED. Oops, let me grab the wire properly here, something like that. And so that way, when I toggle the switch, I'll get a visual indicator on the screen, but then I should see also that effect on the labjack as well, because I have a real LED wired into that. You can make this button kind of big like this for some kind of effect if you want, but in either case, let's go ahead and run the program here. So I'll run it. And off it goes, and the LED on the screen here and the one on the labjack are both off. Now if I click on this switch to toggle it, I can see that big green LED on the screen comes on, and although you can't see it, we'll drop some video in just a second here. I see the LED on the labjack has also come on, indicating that upon clicking this switch, 5 volts has now appeared as an output on the IO0 line relative to the ground, G and D on the labjack. And if I switch it, everything goes off, on, off, on. Let's jump to some video now so you can see that happening, and then we'll conclude this video.